Hello, everyone. My name is Rick van Bruggen from Neotechnology, and very excited to be doing another podcast recording today. My guest on the podcast today is Petra Selmer. Hi, Petra.
Hi, Rick.
Hey, it's good to have you on the podcast. Thank you for making
Thank
the
you.
time. Petra, we've known each other for a couple of years. I think I got to know you first in the London community, right?
Yes, that's right. That's right. It's been
Yeah.
quite a while. Yeah.
It's been quite a while, and but maybe you can take some time to introduce yourself to our listeners. That might be useful.
Sure. Well, as you said, my name is Petra Selmer, and I'm actually a developer at Neotechnology, specifically working with the Cypher team. And so that's the team that actually develops, implements, designs Cypher, the query language. And I'm also a member of the Cypher language group. So this is something that we started about 6 months ago to ensure that we kept up the momentum of adding new features, new operators, new keywords, new semantics to Cypher, keeping things rolling forward in that way. So I'm also a member of that group, and we essentially just try and make sure that we move the language forward. And I also do a little bit of work as well in the biotechnology community. That is just trying to make contacts with scientists and other people in the biology, chemistry, physics communities to try and get them enthused about graphs and that it's a really good tool to help solve their problems, because they've got really, really complex domains which are very well affined with graphs. So this is just still very much in the beginning stages, but that's something that we're hoping to see grow in the future.
Did I get that right? You have an academic background in graph query languages, right? Is that right?
That's right. So I'm actually towards the end of my PhD in the flexible querying of graph structured data. So essentially, I've developed a query language which allows users to pose queries which do not exactly match the structure of the graph, but which nevertheless gets answers back to them in a ranked order, depending on how closely their query matches the actual graph. So if you don't know your graph very well, you'll still get answers back, and essentially, in this way, you actually get to know your data. So it's more of like an exploratory thing. And if you like it, it's a fuzzification of queries. And it also does inferencing as well. So, for example, if you ask for things relating to cats, and somewhere you've got that cats are related to lions because they're both felines, you also get data related to lions as well. So in this way, it's quite a powerful mechanism to. This was motivated actually by biological domains where they've got incredibly complex data that changes all the time. So where the situation where scientists were just kind of stuck sometimes, not knowing, how to query the graph. So some fuzzification and approximation of querying was necessary, and so that's my PhD.
Oh wow, that sounds extremely interesting. Yeah, is it related to visualization technologies in any way, or because that's people tend to do those approximations or finding those patterns with visual tools quite often, right? Or is it not related at all?
It initially was meant to be, because when I began, actually, there were obviously many avenues to explore, and in fact, visualization is incredibly important. And I mean, everybody, from sort of a developers new to the scene through to, as I say, very experienced physicists, all find visualization very powerful. But actually, it turned out there's just so much to explore in this area that I concentrated rather on the theoretical proofs of, the constructs required to undertake this, and optimizations. But I believe there are other PhDs going on using this, and then applying visualization techniques on that as well. So visualization very important, but alas, not something I.
Yep. Cool. Well, I mean, Petra, how did you get into graphs, and why did you get into graphs? Could we go into that a little bit more? I've asked this question to lots of the people on the podcast, and I wonder if you've got a perspective on that.
Sure. Yeah. So I've actually been an applications developer since 1997, actually, and in loads of vertical markets and loads of different companies, from places like IBM through to internet solutions providers and those sorts of things. And I think it was about 5-6 years ago that I simultaneously began my PhD, and I fell into it quite by accident. I was supposed to undertake a PhD in description logics, which is just some mathematical logical thing that's quite arcane. And after 3 months, I found it really was just not for me. And I actually went to speak to the dean of the university, and he said, well, actually, we've got this other project that we'd like a PhD student for, and it actually happened to be in this flexible querying of graph data. So, and yeah, as soon as I actually read the brief, I just, fell in love with it. It was absolutely, kind of awesome. So I fell into it via that route. And also at that time as well, I was working for a medical research company, and the type of data we were trying to store and allow users to query was incredibly complex. In fact, the use case was to represent the entire NHS hierarchy of top-range consultants and administrators across all the trusts and networks and strategic health authorities, all these organizations. It was, very much a graph, and same people would have different roles in different contexts. And actually, so at the time I was obviously fighting, as many other people were, in doing this in a relational database, and there was a lot of pain around that. And yeah, so at the time, actually, I thought, actually, hang on, this is definitely, a perfect sort of graph problem that a graph database would easily be able to solve. But at that time, there was very little around. So I think this was around about 2007 or so. So it was just before, obviously, graph databases as such sprang out into industry. So yes, so certainly when I'm coming across Neo4j, that was kind of light bulb moment. Finally, very, very happy that industry had also seen the light as such, because of course graph models have been around for decades in academia, but had just never really taken a light in industry. So very glad that's actually changed now.
So what was it that attracted you most? Was it the modeling side of things, or what was it that attracted you most? When you sort of found this matching technology.
For me, it was the modeling. It was basically so we didn't have that impedance mismatch and all the 90% of the time spent on writing stupid stored procedures, hundreds of lines long, and basically obviously the increased number of testing and everything around that, and just ending up with code that was not maintainable. But also, it felt to me, to use an analogy, it was as if a surgeon was trying to perform surgery with using oven gloves. Big, heavy oven gloves. It just wasn't, it was just really awful. Whereas actually, I actually first was introduced to Sparkle, so that's the semantic web graph query language, which was miles better. But then actually, when I came across Cypher, I thought, my goodness, this is brilliant. This is actually now like a surgeon using a scalpel to perform surgery, which is as it should be. It's just, very precise, very expressive, and, immediately can just fall in there and actually start doing very complex things. And I think it's the only way, I think, in which you can write really intelligent systems, really advanced systems. I think at some point there's a point at which, you're just so bogged down by relational technology that, yes, you sort of reach that limit as to what you can do, whereas a graph just opens it up for you, and you start off at a very strong position, and then as you see what you can do, you just go ever more advanced.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's great to hear you talk about that. I love that analogy, by the way. It's that will stick, I think. But specifically around Cypher, is there anything particular that you think is like the main reason why you think it's going to be conquering the world, or stuff like that? What is it specifically that you like so much about Cypher?
It's just absolutely, completely just reflects the graph model without any cognitive overload. So, i.e., you don't need to really think too much about it. It just fits so beautifully well. In particular, I love the match query and the way you can actually describe your pattern in a very, very natural and easy way. Whereas I'm trying to start with something like SQL and trying to make it graphy, like already, it just doesn't have the elegance or the expressivity that Cypher does. So that's certainly something that gripped me immediately, was just the pattern matching capabilities.
Yeah, super. Okay, cool, very cool. Maybe one more final question, if you don't mind, Petra. That's I ask this same question to everyone, and it's about what does the future hold? Where do you think this is going, and how do you hope that this will change the industry?
Well, I think already so since I knew about Neo4j, I think it was now about 5 years ago or something. It's amazing actually how many more people, how many more developers and others in industry now know what a graph database is. So, sort of when speaking with people, I don't need to start right from the beginning and, so this is a graph and blah, blah. I spend a lot of time talking about that. They immediately already know. So what the future holds, well, I think it's actually limitless. I think, as I said before, I think it will be the only way in which we can actually solve some problems. And in particular, I'm thinking of my background in what I've worked before, which was in the sciences and in the medical research arena. The data there is just, I think we'll be able to do so much more there that we'll be able to get better applications out there much faster to domains like, say, medical healthcare and places like that, in order to be able to leverage all these wonderful scientific discoveries that are going on at the same time, and therefore get wonderful research being undertaken and performed. And so I think actually it's hard to say where this will end up, but I think it will be really, really big.
Absolutely, very cool. Maybe one more question, a little bit more personal. Do you still speak Afrikaans, or do you speak any Afrikaans?
So I've been in the UK now for 16 years, but yes, I still do. I do try and speak it with any South Africans, those who know it. So yes, I do. I do try and keep up to date.
Yeah. Well,
and in practice.
Well, Flemish, my mother tongue, and Afrikaans are very much related, right? So next time we can practice together, maybe.
Indeed, that'd be good.
Very cool. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Petra. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.